Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's the microphone's on my computer. But if you guys can't hear us, just let me know and I'll try to.
John, can you hear us from here? We talk. This is fine. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right. Welcome to the November 10th, 2025 meeting of the Mobility Planning and Coordination Committee. As a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast on the town's YouTube channel and also via Zoom. It is being recorded for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. I've not been notified of anyone else recording the meeting, but if anyone wishes to do so, please notify me, the chair. We'll do a roll call vote, a roll call attendance for the Mobility Committee. We'll have a quorum here. The other committees in our first agenda item will have a quorum that will be for informational purposes only. Tim Bolger, chair present. Duncan Allen.
Here.
Streisand.
Present.
Stephen Frail.
Present.
James Goldstein.
Present.
Woo-Sung Kwan.
Present.
Justin McCullen is not on there, right?
No.
Paul Molta is not there. And so we also have Tyler Gabrielski and Shane Mark from DPW. Okay. The first agenda item for the Mobility Committee is the public comment period. I haven't been notified that anybody wishes to speak. And there's no one else in the room here. There's no hands raised online.
No.
No.
Nope.
All right. So the first agenda item will be the joint meeting of the transportation committees, the Mobility Planning and Coordination Committee, the Traffic Safety Committee, and the Rail Trail Advisory Committee. From those committees, we have Rebecca. Hi.
Yeah, hi, sorry.
She's here with
The
us.
clock threw me off and the location threw me off, so apologize.
Okay. John Bullion from the Rail Trail Advisory Committee. Hannah Corrigan from Parks and Rec. Hi.
I'm also part of the Rail Trail Committee. I'm the art advisor.
Okay, thank you. Tom Ryder is here.
Tom is a voting member of TSC and I am too.
Okay. Yeah, so there's no, I don't believe your committees have quorum, right? Right.
Probably not.
We have three?
No.
I think we've got two. I think it's James and myself.
We have
Yeah.
4 if we include me, Tom, and you two.
Okay,
Is that quorum?
that works.
Yes.
So just recognizing that you do have a quorum here. It's for informational purposes only, the meeting, and we're not gonna be making any decisions, but there's a quorum. Okay, so the first, I think the first part of the joint transportation, the meeting of the joint transportation committees is to talk a little bit about each of our committees. Just kind of give a brief description and a couple questions that we had sent around, which are just like, what are your committee's current priorities and projects? What are your committee's long-term goals? And what are your committee's top challenges or barriers? Does anybody wish to go first, or
You can go.
you want to go? Okay. Thank you, Gus.
I'm just so what I'm going to do. I'm Gus Driessen, and I'm one of the at-large committee members of the Transportation Committee, Traffic Transportation Committee. Just to state as a public charter, the purpose of the Transportation Safety Committee is to evaluate and to make recommendations to the Director of Public Works and the Select Board to promote and improve the safety of the multimodal public ways in Needham. The goals for the Transportation Safety Committee are to provide a forum that petitions to hear petitions from residents that improve the safety of roads, sidewalks, traffic signals, paver markings on the town's highways and byways, and all of these multimodal safety ways, public ways. It serves as a resource for residents for the town's multimodal programs, the plans and procedures, and assist thereby in to communicate those plans to everyone and also to the town overall and the other committees. It represents itself through the Mobility Planning and Coordinating Committee by preparing proposals for future multimodal transportation programs, policies, and all that, thereby focusing on safety, communication, coordination, and sound traffic and transportation programs. And one of our goals is to participate in the joint meetings of the MPCC as well as the Rail Trail Committee. And just to mention a few things what we worked in the last year, we did a number of projects and initiatives, and some notable mention. I would like to mention the Mark III Road Sidewalk Reconstruction Project, the West Street crossing at Hillside and the railroad. And we did speed studies, actually staff this studies, but we undertook speed studies at several locations through the town together with our vehicle and pedestrian counts. We looked at, and lastly, we looked at School Street crossings at the Pollard School on Harris Ave, on Central Ave near the Elliott School, and near the high school, we looked at the signalized intersection of Highland Ave and Rosemary Street. I think that's probably the focus of what I mentioned.
Okay.
Oh yeah, if you want to mention some other things.
No, I think you've covered everything beautiful.
What are your committee's top challenges or barriers? What are your, like, what's preventing you from doing things that you think you need to get done, or, you know, what are?
I think that the constant complaint that we get is speed in town. And I think that is really foremost on residents and what we hear. And if there's any way to alleviate that, even perceived or actual speeds, that would be probably most helpful.
One of the things that we have at our disposal is the traffic data platform, which we started using this year. That uses car telematics to measure speeds from people's cell phones and from the electronics within the cars. So that because not every single person is transmitting that data, it's not 100% of a picture, but it's a pretty good benchmark for determining where there are problems and when the problems may be more of a I guess one of the issues just in general that we always run into is that it's very, very difficult to tell like how fast somebody is driving when you're just standing there next to the road. So we try to now we're using that platform as sort of a benchmark. We can run reports to see if different times of day there's different behaviors going on, if there's like a spike at a certain time of day because school's letting out, or there's traffic backups on a certain light or something like that. That's a lot of the stuff that we get. So we can take a look at what the vast majority of people are doing on any given street, and then we'd also use the engineering division to actually lay out speed counters that can take more precise measurements on a vehicle by vehicle basis. We'll have those out usually for a week or two. So those two things in combination can tell us if there's intervention that's required and what DPW can do.
So what I would add to that is I think we have there's as Gus said, the concerns about speed townwide are significant. That's what we hear most of the time. And so mostly from a pedestrian lens, like that's what people come to us for. And it could be, you know, on my small street, my kids, you know, play in the street. It could be, you know, it's just, we can't cross safely at intersections, which mostly is the concern. And we're limited in terms of, the town is limited in terms of what they can do because of dollars and also projects that are hung up. So one of the things I would say is a concern at least from my perspective. One of our top concerns right now is because of the holdup on the town center project. There are there are short-term things that we would like to see. In terms of crosswalk safety and things like that, that have been held up for years because of that have now been held up because of the larger project. So personally, you know, we've talked about this a lot, not just personally, but our committee, feeling like it would be nice to see some incremental change, and because the community would also like to see incremental change. But I think that would also lend itself to larger, people being more supportive of larger things, if they can see small incremental changes.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge. And then like from DPW's perspective, we have areas where we know that certain fixes are needed from a construction standpoint. It's a lot easier for us to put in, you know, we can put in signs, we can do different things, you know, sort of that are more quick build, paint. But when things need to be reconstructed or a new curb ramps or other things like that, it's very, very difficult for us to get just one ramp, just one little curb cut, just one crosswalk in this one location that there never has been one before, or a little sidewalk extension here or there. It's just because we use contractors to do that work. And it's not economically viable for them to come and do like a very small piece of work. So it ends up we try to get these things accomplished by folding them into other projects, but that makes things take longer than they otherwise would, even though we know that there's an issue that we'd like to address.
Any other questions for TSC committee from their members? James?
So the charge of the Rail Trail Advisory Committee, I'll just read it, it's short, is to provide advice and assistance to the select board and other boards, committees, and commissions about the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of all portions of the Bay Colony Rail Trail in the town of Needham. And that was created when the committee was created about 8 to 10 years ago. I don't know exactly how long, but shortly before the rail trail itself, the construction was finalized. So since that time, we've also been asked to participate in the MPCC and on the designee for that. We meet approximately quarterly, and Chris Gerstle from Park and Rec Commission is the chair. So Tim, you asked for current priorities, longer term goals, and then some challenges. So current priorities, and I think most of you have heard this before, but the first one is to rehabilitate the surface of the trail. It's stone dust, which is like a fine gravel that is supposed to be hard packed. For a variety of reasons, we've had drainage issues, and portions of the trail are rough and a little bit bordering on unsafe for bicyclists, because if you get in deep gravel, it's hard to turn and maintain your balance. The good news is that is the resurfacing, the rehabilitation of the surface is on the DPW's capital budget for spring of 2026. And I confirmed that with Karis recently. So that's the good news. And that includes some drainage improvements along the sides of the trail, which will hopefully prevent the washouts and drainage issues. The second one is to add signage and other amenities to the trail. And as many of you are probably aware, the Conservation Commission has funding and is in process of standardizing trail signs around the town. And the rail trail will benefit from that. We're not at the top of the list, but in the next year, I think that will happen as well. So the signage issue will likely be taken care of. And I believe that will also include upgrading of the kiosk that we have now. And the other amenities are discussed at the Rail Trail Advisory Committee, but we haven't moved forward with them. I should note that the Rail Trail Advisory Committee, unlike the Transportation Safety Committee, does not have a budget. So we are an advisory advocacy kind of organization to the DPW and the select board, really. The third priority is the extension of the rail trail to Chestnut Street. As most of you know, it ends now around the town forest, about 1,200 feet before Chestnut Street. So it ends kind of nowhere. And it will enhance the usefulness and accessibility of the trail tremendously once we extend it. It's not as simple as one would think, because the MBTA has been quite firm in holding on to the rail line from the terminus of the rail trail to Chestnut Street for emergency purposes. I think I've mentioned this in the past here, even though it hasn't been used in, I think, over a dozen years. So the approach is what the MBTA calls rail with trail. So you put up a fence in between and you go, I believe it's 10 or 12 feet off of it, off of the active rail line. And that is doable in this case, including under High Rock Street. So that would be incorporated in the design of the extension. There was a feasibility study done on this in 2020. So there are several steps that need to happen, including an update, at least of the costing information of that feasibility study. That study came up with a few alternatives. A preferred alternative needs to be selected by the town with our input as the advisory committee and the public's input, and then identify funding options, because it's not inexpensive. I won't go into the reasons, but it's relatively costly compared to the existing rail trail costs. As part of that feasibility study and as part of this priority is to have a link between Chestnut Street and Great Plain Avenue. So to make it easier and more bike and pedestrian friendly to get from where the rail trail hopefully will end at Chestnut Street up to Great Plain Avenue. And the feasibility study had a couple of options there. It's sidewalk related, really. Widening and putting markings and so forth. So those are the current priorities. Future ones. One is biking accommodations along Highland Avenue from Great Plain towards Webster Street. And as some of you know far better than I, the Highland Avenue TIP project is well underway. It includes bicycle accommodations, and that would help link the Great Plain Avenue downtown area with the Heights and beyond. Again, that's not immediate, that's a longer term goal. Another one is to support and coordinate with the town of Dover on their rail trail efforts. They're in design now for the rail trail. It will go the entire length of the Dover right-of-way from the Medfield line to the Charles River. And eventually, we hope to connect to Needham with a bike pedestrian bridge over the Charles. And as I think I've mentioned in the past, that's also, even though it's a short span, it's not inexpensive, and the existing structures are not usable. We had an engineering analysis done several years ago. So again, long-term goal. And a very, very long-term goal. And John Bulin of our committee suggested, almost is not worth mentioning, is to take the next steps on what is called the Needham Newton Community Way, which is a very long-term vision to connect with the Upper Falls Greenway in Needham over 128 with a pedestrian bike bridge. Again, that's literally decades down the road, but it's useful for a long-term vision of connecting Newton, Needham, Dover, Medfield in a bike-friendly path, if you will. So some on road, but a lot of it off road. So those are the future priorities. And in terms of challenges, what I guess Gus mentioned, you mentioned, funding is a huge challenge, both for the current priorities, including the extension to Chestnut Street, and certainly the long-term priorities or goals, which are far more expensive and at the moment seem, too expensive to really consider. And a second challenge is public outreach and engagement. And this is both to increase public awareness and use of the rail trail, because a number of our committee members think it's not widely known and not used as much as it could be. And I think the resurfacing will make it even more user-friendly, and that will be a good time to really promote it. And that the other part of that is engaging residents and businesses, especially abutters, when there are proposed biking infrastructure, whether it's the extension to Chestnut Street, the Highland Avenue connection, and way down the road in the Heights, a community way connection from Webster over 128. So those are the key challenges as well.
Anyone have any questions?
Tim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me?
John, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I want to say, James, good report. That pretty much summed up the discussion that we had at the last rail trail meeting. I think that, the other thing that I'd like to comment on is from what I'm seeing in your agenda this evening is you'll be incorporating, more public engagement, more community outreach with respect to the projects that are proposed, throughout the town, which is exceptional. And it's something that I believe in strongly, and I'm glad I think that that's what it is, but, I'll watch it. With respect to, what James said about the projects that the goals that might be achievable, there's unknown amounts of money that are needed. And, how we get this funding, when it's available, if it's available, is going to determine where these projects end up in the scope of years. But we're all faced with that on an ongoing and regular basis. And, we just keep doing everything we can do to make the trail, the South Trail, as good as it is. A lot of use. I mean, I'm out there on occasion, as are many friends of mine, and I see other people. I see bikers, I see walkers, I see dog walkers, I see kids, strollers. It could be used more. And the hope is that with an outreach that we're going to do as part of the PR campaign, is to make more people aware of it. And I think that's really good. So, and the improvements that are imminent in the spring. But thank you, James. That was very good.
Sure. May I just add one quick point? The extension of the trail to Chestnut Street is and has been on the select board goals for some years. It's in a medium term in their goals, 18 to 36 months to look for funding, but it is in their goals, and I hope will remain so, and there'll be movement on it by the town with our input.
The only question I have is maintaining a stone dust surface, limiting the type of grants that you can apply for that. Is there a conversation about whether or not you accept one to pave it and to keep it the way it is?
Well, it was originally proposed as stone dust as a way to sidestep the state tip requirements, which take many, many, many years to achieve. And we built this in a very short time with very low cost. Paving was almost an order of magnitude more expensive at the time. I think it still is quite a bit more expensive. I suppose if the money was offered, it would have to be a discussion by not only our committee, but the town. I'm personally not opposed, but I think realistically, it's a much bigger pot of money to do that, and funding is an issue. But if anyone else has information.
Yeah, from my understanding, I think there is there are some requirements with grants that get into that exact question. But there are downsides and upsides to up to either from maintenance perspective.
Right, the most
Yeah.
likely state source, we believe, is the Mass Trails Program, and we've gotten 1 or 2 in Needham, 2 in Medfield. I think Dover will be applying, and that there is not a requirement for paving, that can be stone dust or even other surfaces.
Right.
And because this could be promoted as a regional trail connecting Medfield, Dover, and Needham, it would be eligible for up to $500,000, which is their maximum connectivity grant.
Yeah,
So that's significant dollars.
more attractive than just within.
Tim,
Yeah.
one other question for James, if I may. James, what is the current status of the Dover Rail Trail? Are they, where are they in their process right now?
They're in the design phase. I spoke with Mark Galoni, the head of Park and Rec, who's heading their effort a week or 2 ago. And they're going to have their second public forum this fall. He didn't know what the date is, to present the design that their consultant has done. Their consultant is actually called the Engineering Corporation, which is a weird name, but they have, and we've been discussing, we being the Bay Colony Rail Trail Association, certain issues of the design with their consultant around wetlands issues, because we have a wetlands person on our team.
Have they softened their position on the connection between Needham and Dover?
Absolutely. It's now the whole thing. Yes.
Okay,
And the town, as opposed to a nonprofit, Friends of the Dover Greenway, it's now a townwide effort headed by Park and Rec. And they have a working committee of town officials and citizens.
And the bridge is currently being designed as well, I understand.
Not that bridge, no. Central
Not that.
Ave Bridge, but not the bridge over the Charles to connect the rail trails, no.
I thought it was the Center Street Bridge, no? Dude,
that's a different bridge.
It's a different project. And it's not gonna connect directly the rail trails. That's in a sense a workaround. It'll help.
well, because I had seen some concepts that proposed that as there could be a connection made from over that bridge, but maybe
There could
that's not
be,
the current
but
iteration.
that would be a road connection to the bridge and then a road connection in Dover as well.
Okay,
I mean, it's helpful because that bridge now has really no biking accommodation. It's dangerous. But that's not the ultimate goal of the Bay Colony Rail Trail Association. And I think the town of Needham even would like to have a direct connection.
right.
Woo? Right.
Yes, so I think, James, you mentioned the Needham Newton Community Way. That was maybe not even worth mentioning. Is this entirely due to the project cost and budget issue, or is there something that's holding off the entire project? You know, I know that there was a study that was done. I just was very interested in it, so wanted to know more a little.
Yeah, a couple of things. It's extremely high cost. It's well over $20 million to do, and therefore it's very, very long term. It involves federal and state funding and support. There are some very small incremental steps that could be taken, and I actually advocated for these, but I think there's not an appetite yet. But the first thing is to get Mass DOT just to be on board with exploring this further, and that would be the responsibility of the select board to initiate that. We've held off, or we are holding off now because we have higher priorities and we don't want to divert their attention from the extension and other more immediate priorities. But it's really cost and timing. It's way out there and very expensive. I actually am in favor of it very much, and I was on the advisory committee of that study, and I hope it happens, but it's down the road quite a bit.
It's anyone speaking with the Bullfinch owners of the Muzzy site to see if they'd be interested in trying to find a solution for whatever they put on that site, it'll presumably want to be connected to the housing across the street.
The
Across
right
the
of,
highway, I should say.
the right of way is not on the.
Not quite on it.
there, it's behind
Yeah,
it, right? Way back when we had a discussion with Muzzy about
You
it,
did.
but we have not had any, either as the advisory committee or the Bay County Rail Trail Association, with the current, with Bullfinch or anything. I think when the transportation studies were done, I don't know if it was Bullfinch at the time, but wasn't there another purchaser earlier who was interested in? And anyway, one of, maybe it is Bullfinch, expressed interest in supporting the bike trail, whatever that means. I mean, they saw it as another way to get to their site.
Right.
But there hasn't been anything serious.
Did you talk to the planning board at all? Just wonder if they might see it as a potential mitigation measure.
They do, that project does have a lot of mitigation for transportation and its special permit. And it does provide connections from that site to the rail trail.
To the rail, but not across.
Not,
Oh, no.
we're not the trail itself. So I think from like, there to the park that's over there. But Millsfield, yeah, they fix the sidewalk and they add a bike path, I think, that goes down to that section. Connect to where.
Yeah, and that's going to be looked at again now that we're going back through the process again. So there'll be another round of sort of talking with the town, figuring out what makes sense from an access point of view.
I mean, it sounds like you gotta put together a bunch of Lego bricks to eventually get a box.
Well, the biggest Lego,
More people you can get.
the biggest Lego brick that would help us is if they put that pylon back in this, that support back in the middle of the highway so that we can build a bridge across it again, but that
But you raise a good point. It's worth us advocating with the planning board to keep this in mind and to maybe enhance the mitigation. Maybe it's part of the path from the highway or near the highway to Webster Street. I mean, if they could help support that, because that is part of the community way idea.
Well, keep in mind, there is another option, which is to bring the commuter rail up to the Muzzy site, which does enhance transportation. So it could be looked upon any number of ways.
Can you, Emma, I think is Paul,
oh,
so I think it's him, he sent an email, but. Okay, so I will, start.
Paul, is that you, Paul? Are you Emma?
Yes,
Okay, sorry about that. I'll bring you up.
all good.
So I'll be brief about this, but my name is Tim, I'm the chair of the Mobility Planning Coordination Committee. Our charge kind of boils down to advising the select board and DPW in developing and maintaining plans and recommending policies for future mobility related infrastructure. What are our current priorities and projects? Our current project and our main priority is the design guide that we've been developing for 2 years. It's really going to help to kind of establish clear, consistent design features based on context. And I'm hoping that design guide will help the committee kind of recommend new policies that help support transportation goals that you guys are talking about here. We're also advisory, we don't have any funding, but I think the committee itself, its priority is to kind of make policies to help facilitate these things kind of on an annual basis. That design guide, I think, is also going to help improve transparency, communication with residents about how roadway infrastructure is managed and designed. Have a clear kind of accessible document that people can look at to see why we're doing the things that we're doing. Some of our other priorities that we're looking at in the short term are school zone standardization. We haven't really discussed it much in our meetings, and we don't know how to kind of figure out how to advance that. But Justin obviously is not here, and he's on the TSC and Gus. I know you guys are doing work with that as well. And for our prioritization of that school zone standardization, we have to come up with a way to figure out how to do that. And so, part of this, I think, joint meeting is to kind of throw around some ideas to help kind of figure out how to get there. Our other priority will be the residential sidewalk program. This one, it's kind of charged with us about figure out how to reduce the inventory of the sidewalks by maybe removing some of the residential areas. I think it's kind of part of an overall plan to just rehabilitate sidewalks in a more efficient manner and reduce the backlog as quickly as we can, and to help the town make that a priority for planning, funding, kind of going forward. Our long-term goals, again, I think are just reducing the sidewalk inventory, we've talked a lot about, and hoping to come up with a plan for that. And speed zone and safety zone standardization, hear a lot about the speed from TSC. I think maybe consider a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit as a policy recommendation, or some policies to kind of set speed expectations throughout the whole town, and how to respond to them when people are asking us to fix them. And what are our barriers? One big barrier for us, I think, is parking. It's somewhat undefined. It becomes parking concerns are raised frequently, locations that have low utilization, and it makes it difficult to introduce kind of safety improvements that we've recommended. So, parking being so kind of up in the air, whether it's residential or in front of the business, it's so difficult for us. Other than that, I think, just helping the community understand how balanced street improvements can support safety. So that means, kind of more education, or, making sure that things that we're doing are well spelled out so that people understand the reason why you're making them safer and the benefits that we're going to get from them. So that's pretty much what I. Go ahead.
And we also have been working on, and I don't know if it's short-term necessarily, but I think it is, this bicycle network plan. And you want to say a couple of
Yeah,
words
sure.
about that?
Sorry. Yeah.
I think that is on our agenda.
It is. Yes, it is on there too. Yeah. The bicycle network plan. Sorry, I skipped over it. Is to formalize that in some manner, whether that be formalizing the map and coming up with I think a policy that helps us implement it in a reasonable amount of time. So not only recognizing where those bicycle infrastructure should be, but a method in which to get them on the books on a yearly basis as we renovate those.
And as part of that, the public engagement piece becomes very important.
I think so.
We've talked about that too. We're
I
going
think-
to suggest.
I think all of the policies that we will work on recommending will have a engagement kind of requirement and an engagement outline of best practices that will hold, like, not necessarily us, because we're not out there. Our committee isn't out there to do engagement, we're advisory. So, to help DPW or the select board do the proper engagement for the projects that we recommend to them.
It's worth mentioning that we recognize that there's too much gray area in terms of what the expectations are for communication and public engagement with all street improvement projects, but especially ones that affect parking or regular usage of the roadway as it is now. So I know that we have a new town manager. There was some thought that there would one of the first things that we'd like to get all on the same page about is that, so we do have a meeting on the books with her. You know, she has obviously the ear of the select board and a sense of what their expectations are to sort of hammer out what the different tiers are of public engagement and how those match up to different projects we might do, from minor alterations to more significant alterations.
Tim, just want to add a little bit to your agenda here. So I represent the Climate Action Committee within the context of the Mobility and Planning Committee, and there's a lot of overlap and intersection, but different perhaps goals. So one observation that we made, one finding that we had on the Climate Action Committee was that 1/3 of the town's carbon is produced by transportation. So that's a very big chunk of carbon that we need to figure out how to address if we're to meet our carbon mitigation goals. And there's a lot of strategies for that, you know, electrifying the existing transportation, which has started, you know, both in the town, you know, we purchased some vehicles in the town, and there's actually a pretty significant percentage of private owners who have gone to electrified means, which is good. We can improve the public transportation. Utilization would be a big goal for us as well. But then the bike network, right? So how do we figure out in those short manageable trips to give people the comfort they need to not be in a car all the time without disadvantaging the people who need to be in a car, right? Because that's a balance that we need to figure out. And so I think one of the challenges that we've focused on in the climate side is trying to educate the public both on the necessity of doing those things, but that they're not necessarily putting two groups at odds with each other. Like that happens naturally for some reason in Needham sometimes. But you know, having a comfortable bike route does not mean necessarily reducing parking significantly, and it doesn't mean taking roads away. It means making sure that everybody on the road feels comfortable. And so that's probably a goal that I'd like to see us to keep pushing on going forward.
I agree, but I wanted to get back to what Tyler said about engagement, and it's great that Katie is going to meet with you folks at DPW about it. I wonder, is there an opportunity for its Tool, who's the consultant on the design guidelines, to have something in the design guidelines about it? Is there something now? I don't believe so, but and I realize it's not design, but it is part of designing projects is the public engagement process. So I'm just wondering out loud whether they have experience with it, and there may be a way to segment projects with respect to the level of engagement that should happen. And I don't know the answer to it, but it may be worth raising with them.
Yeah, well, at the very least, the guide itself will have a public engagement component in the crafting of it. And I think one of our main points when we are presenting this is that it's not a design every street in Needham guide. So it's creating, that baseline. And then I think that there's still so much that needs to be defined with the level of public engagement that's matched to each sort of thing. And part of that is because the town is just doing more than it ever has in terms of not just maintaining what we have now, but trying to make improvements, trying to improve accessibility, trying to create a more modern network. So we haven't really had to have this degree of public engagement on that front, at least to this point. So I think that it may make sense to sort of formalize something that's presented by Katie and the board, and then perhaps integrate that into our design guide. But nothing's been decided yet. So
Tim, can I jump in for a second?
Yep.
Yeah. I think in terms of, what's community engagement, what does that entail? I think, for me, I've always looked at it, if it affects people's homes and their neighborhoods, it affects their lives. They pay taxes, and in this town, they pay a lot of taxes, and they're going to pay a lot more. And with that comes people having a right, a need to know, and a right to have their voices heard. And whatever plans might be proposed by various committees may just have to be changed when the public gives feedback and input, because ultimately they're the people that pay all the bills, and they're the people that live here, and in many cases the largest single asset that people have is their home. So they have a right to be protective of that, as do, as we've discussed, you mentioned parking, right? Parking in front of somebody's home when road improvements are made is very important to them. The same with small businesses that exist in our business districts. If parking dynamics are changed, that's going to impact their livelihoods. So, I think that put ourselves in the position of, we all live in our homes, we all care about our homes and our streets and our neighborhoods, and other people do too. And it's a matter of making people feel their voices are heard, and that the input that they give is taken and discussed and fed back and talked about. Because if we just form committees that think they know better, there's going to be an awful lot of unhappiness. There's already enough unhappiness that's going on in the country and even at the local level. And so I encourage engagement, and we know what that looks like. So if we're looking to make road changes, not just repaving a road and leaving it the way it is, but if you're looking to change the parking dynamics in front of somebody's home, they want to know about it. And you want them to know about it, or you want to hear what they have to say about it, and then make accommodations for that. And it may end up that the plan that you're thinking about isn't ultimately the plan that gets put in place, because it's called compromise.
Yeah, so what you said, you kind of gave a qualifier there, like, oh, if you're just paving a road. So like that's really what needs to be delineated, though, is there are many degrees of how something impacts the street or the abutters, because everybody has, if you prompt them, everybody has an opinion about every choice we can make in DPW. We have, within reason, TSC, right? We will come up with a idea to install a sign that may help with safety around a corner, but maybe the exact placement of the sign, one abutter doesn't want it and another one is okay with it, and we have to kind of negotiate, like, okay, well, where exactly is the sign going to go? Ultimately, it's in, is it really affecting the homeowner to a large degree? Not really, but we try to work with them to work that out. But that's one degree, and then you have the degree of, okay, we're changing the entire cross section of the entire street. It's figuring out where those degrees are and what is appropriate for each. That is currently being done on a case-by-case basis, but we do not have formalized what those tiers are. So everybody agrees that we want public engagement, especially for the larger changes. It's just a question of what makes sense as we go down into the smaller things, because if you ask anybody, somebody, more than often than not, they're going to have an opinion, even if you don't, if they are not actually affected one way or the other. So
I think you might be getting at the difference between like public engagement and then the decision process, right? So we have a town government that has to make difficult decisions when there's competing voices on key decision, right?
Yeah.
That's all mapped out. There are decisions that are town meeting, there are decisions that the select board, there's other boards, planning boards, et cetera, that have to make decisions when there's competing visions. I think it's good to get everything out on the table, but also part of engagement is understanding that there's going to be competing visions and there's going to be compromise, and some people are not going to be happy. And so, that's something we probably just all got to get comfortable with and have a thicker skin on.
So I think both John and Steven, it's a good point. I think the purpose of, the mobility committee is creating these either guidelines or programs is to create some sort of expectation. So it's not like a big surprise when it comes up,
Right.
like, excuse me, the sidewalk program. If it's an expectation that that's happening and there's a clear thing that's gonna happen, residents will know that's coming, right? Like, they know that their neighborhood has been identified. They know at some point we're gonna come in and have a
Right.
public meeting, and someone's gonna talk about it. So it's not a big surprise.
Right.
Same with the bike network plan, like, if you map it out and it's out there, and there are guidelines and the procedures that will happen, when they are proposed, people will know what to expect when it comes.
So that, I think that's lovely, but I think that's the problem is that it doesn't always, like, even the unfortunate reality is it doesn't help. It's not always true. So what Tyler is saying is like, in addition to having a plan, the communication part of that plan is critical. And having levels of expectations, because if similar to the town center project, there were plans in place, but it was not a well-executed plan, so it failed. So when it comes to things like the bike network and the sidewalk network, I think, given the number of people that come to the TSC, I mean, I've been on the TSC for what, 7 years, something like that? The number of, a long time, the people that come to the TSC with, I want more sidewalks, like, it's unbelievable. So I think a lot of people, even if you put it out there, if we don't have a really deliberate communication plan in place, that's led with some real experience in this community, not just from an outside consultant that says, here's what we recommend. We'll have a simpler experience. Even seeing, I mean, I live on Mark Tree Road, so I haven't seen the Mark Tree Road communication the way that went. There were some things that went really well. And I think we've seen, there are some people who are great communicators too, that can lead. I don't know, is Shane on the call? Did I see Shane's on the call? Okay, I personally think Shane should lead every communication that happens in this town. Cause I like just the way the way things need to be communicated in a certain public setting is really critical and has to be, it's almost more important than the plan. So I think what Tyler is saying is that there have to be certain across the board for all projects. There have to be some where it's just happening and we're not discussing it with anybody. And then there have to be some that warrant discussion, and those things need to be clear. But on the bigger things, you need to over communicate, but also communicate really directly and in a really clear way in recognizing what's been effective in this community and what has not. That makes sense.
It's similar, Tim, if you put out a townwide plan and you say you put out the townwide plan and you think you've done your job as far as engaging with people, it's like, well, we put out the townwide plan and everybody had an opportunity to look at it. That's not engaging with people. Okay, what's engaging with people is as the plan gets executed on a street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, position. Then you have to engage people, because then you're just going to have people that are really unhappy. And, it would be good to tamp down on the unhappiness right now because of some of the things that have been done or haven't been done. So engagement isn't just saying, whoa, we sent you this. Engagement is actually getting feedback and input and making changes to a plan to accommodate other voices and other opinions. That's engagement, in my opinion. So it has to be two-sided. And I understand, Tyler, it sort of ties your hands a little because you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this project? Well, we're in a time and a place right now where, maybe people are more caring and interested in what goes on in their neighborhoods, and they have a right to be. And we still live in a democracy. And, I will always support the interaction with people. I can't tell you the number of neighborhood meetings that I had over the many years I was on the board, going into the neighborhoods, meeting in people's homes, their living rooms and dining rooms and kitchens, and, engaging with them and talking with them, listening to what they had to say. They might have a good idea. And in many cases they did. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us, when that network plan was put out, thought that the engagement was over and that it was decided. It was just merely a planning document that showed a possibility in certain locations. So if I think it's a question of, at what level, at what point do you bring people into the process? Because when, if you need to conduct a large public engagement just to even propose anything, then I think that is not necessarily the best point at which you bring people into the
I
process.
don't think it can be, I don't think it has to be for everything. I think that's the thing, is that it has to be, I mean, I actually think Mark Tree was handled really well. I don't think the presentation itself went well because it was actually led by a consultant. I think if it had been, and I think that was part of it, but I also feel like the process went well, it's just now it's slowed down in the execution, but the idea of having a proposal because it impacted an entire street, allowing people to come together and view it makes sense. And then there are others where, like, for example, High Rock, all the striping on High Rock, he just did it. And a few people complained, and now nobody remembers that it was never there.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I think that there are some cases, to your point, where we have to say, we're not running it by anybody, we're just doing it. And then there are some that have an interim level, it almost have to be 3 levels. you
Yeah.
know?
No,
But keep it simple, like, I don't think there should be
Yeah,
10 levels, I think there should be 3, which is like no engagement, like medium engagement, and then high engagement, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we generally just want to make sure that the feedback's productive and focused, because a lot of people may have ideas that are worth us vetting, but when people start trying to design things, it's, you know, we're hiring people to do this work, you know, like they're experts in their field, like they do this for their living, you know. It's, so when it's like, let's just completely shut them out of the process, it's like, well, then why are we even making a design in the first place? We should just go around the blank piece of paper and then everyone can draw us.
I think what you're saying is that if there's nothing to change in the design, like the feedback's not going to adjust it, soliciting the feedback could actually create more frustration than just.
Yeah, focused, constructive, we can make changes to things, you know, that
Go
feasible.
ahead, Shane.
Thank you, Rebecca. First of all, thank you for your kind comments. I'll send you that check as soon as I can.
I really do mean it though, Shane.
So what I would say to everyone is, this is about balance. So just as we talk about, every committee has talked about finding that balance. I think, James, you talked about balances. When it comes to engagement and communication, it's about balance. And so, John, we do agree, we need to notify, and that is our stance from DPW. For example, the project we're going to do on Tower at Hoover is we contacted the residents who were direct abutters, who were going to be directly affected by the layouts that we were doing there. So yes, we do agree with that. I think it is about finding balance. There are certain things that can and can't be done based upon engineering standards, based upon the design. For example, if we put a design in and a neighbor says, no, I don't want parking in front of this house, you know, it's about getting to yes within reason and about finding a balance that's good for the entire community and not just for one specific or 2 specific residents. And not that residents' input doesn't matter, because it does. But again, it's about finding the balance. And I think what Tyler's saying when it comes to communication and talking about this engagement is discussing projects and what does that engagement look like for different projects, i.e., like Rebecca just talked about, a striping project versus a installation of curb and gutter project versus a bump out project versus a complete redesign of a corridor. So what we're really trying to focus on is finding about or coming to a solution of what is the appropriate level of engagement for each one of these types of projects, because we are on timelines, we're on deadlines that we have to meet as well, and we want to get these projects moving and installed properly and safe and efficiently. So I think that's what we're really after. And I think Stephen, you said this, is letting the residents know when
what accommodations can be made and what accommodations can't be made. So those are the things we're talking about and again, it's framing and explaining the why. Why are we doing these projects? Why are we even entertaining these things? What can and can't be done? And whether or not that information is merely an informational meeting, as Stephen said, or whether that's a meeting of, hey, we're going to provide some information and we're soliciting your feedback. And we will take your feedback and try to incorporate what we can into the project. So hopefully that makes it clear for everybody.
That's good.
I think balance is a really good word, and it's something that should be employed in every aspect of town government. And then achieving that is the question.
Agree with Shane and Stephen's point very much that on certain projects, certain accommodations can be made. I mean, there's engineering constraints, there's cost constraints, there's the broader public. I think context is all important, and giving key background information, like on the sidewalk program. I wonder how many residents know there's, I think you said, a 40-year backlog on maintaining sidewalks. I mean, that's unsustainable, obviously. And so adding new ones have to be very, very careful about, and removing some in a thoughtful way, as DPW is thinking about now, may make a lot of sense to make it 35 years, make it 30, whatever it is. It's not going to go away, but it could improve it incrementally. But without that knowledge of something like, you know, huge backlog, people aren't going to appreciate the constraints.
But they are getting something for it, you know, let's just be clear, the idea is that one side of the sidewalk would be enhanced. We're not just removing it, so that's something we also have to communicate.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
How can we collaborate? What is something that we can, out of this meeting, and we kind of talked a little bit, Steve mentioned about getting the timing right for funding. I don't necessarily know that the mobility committee is looking to fund a project necessarily at this point. Like, we don't really have anything we're asking for. So, but like, what can we help the other committees with? What type of plans can we help you to advance, or programming that we can help recommend to the select board to help you?
Well, what we did, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you go.
What we did a few months ago is meet among the three committees and come up with a couple of priorities that were fundable and make those suggestions to the select board. So that seems to be a useful task, and I thought that's what was meant by presenting priorities to the select board. And so it would reinforce what the safety committee, what the rail trail committee, or what MPCC itself thinks are the most important things. So
Do you remind us what those were that we put to the select board?
they were rail trail related at the time.
Okay.
It was the extension, and there was one other,
The next step.
oh, right, next step.
Investigating the next step.
Get mass
Yes.
And then we recognize that there are some other kind of projects that we recognize, like a speed hump program or a traffic calming program that we weren't able to vet in that amount of time, and so we didn't have any other recommendations for that, their current goals.
Right, the only other specific one, I believe, was initiate discussions with Dover to establish a working group to pursue funding for the design and construction of a replacement bridge. But that was, I mean, again, it wasn't adopted by the select board, but that's the input that we gave collectively.
You mentioned it, and I think Rebecca mentioned it also. Have a consistent approach to, or do an evaluation of all the school zones. And the school zones signing, I don't know if you have interns, but I was just thinking on top of my head.
Interns.
Interns, yes.
Oh, it's just
And,
me. I'm just out there
it's
taking
you, okay.
taking pictures.
Anyhow, but the point is that,
Yeah.
you know, we have an approach, since you both mentioned, is that that's something is low hanging fruit. Is that something what they can do, and that is probably, and the remedy would be have signage which is consistent to town.
Signage, yeah, signage or. You may wanna engage with like an engineer. Or like Safe Routes to School through MassDOT to do like a school zone audit or. Like some professional engineering to make suggestions,
Well,
you know.
I don't
for all
know. I
the-
mean,
yeah.
do we have a baseline? Do we know what's out there? That kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, we just have to, because we've just,
I mean, we have-
some of the signs that are out there may be the ones that we want for everywhere. And other ones, like for instance, like the beacons that flash. Those are great and maybe, the more, some of them that we have are quite old. But we might want a newer version of that, and that would be the standard. We have to figure out what is the preferred, but the other thing with those beacons is that there's a cost attached to that, so
Sure.
that's why we're not sure. We have to, like you said, establish what the gold standard
Just
is.
getting into the specifics, you're suggesting that could be one shared goal that this committee supports, whether it comes from the safety committee or some other source.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
no, it's a project we've had on a list for a while, but
yeah, I know.
we're always reacting to what comes in.
Since you both first, brought it up. Is that something that we can approach? It's just not a high cost item, I think. I mean, the remedy, yes. There may be cost involved, however, just the assessment of it, the baseline, the half what's out there.
The planning,
Yes.
mobility planning.
Yeah.
So Tim, are you looking for other ways of coordination other than select board recommendations? Getting back to your
I mean,
agenda. item?
yeah, I think it would be something that we would have to recommend. Select board or. Whatever route we need to take to get funding for some other project that maybe.
I have a specific
Yeah,
example.
go ahead.
I mentioned it at the beginning, but there is a huge need to make the crosswalks in center of town safe. That can't afford to wait 5-10 years until we figure out how to redesign the town center. So I would like to figure out how to get everybody who's on this call and whatever we need to do to make that happen, because the orange Jersey barriers are fine and they've served their purpose, but we have a real need for bump outs and making it more visible. Today, yesterday, I saw 2 little girls who were at the intersection of Maple waiting to cross, but they're as tall as the Jersey barriers. So you can't see them until they get into the street. There are problems, and they're so unsafe. And it's a huge issue, and we've been held up, been at this a really long time. And like I said, we cannot afford to wait another 5-10 years.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So
There's this crossing guard struck there near the post office.
uh,
Let's street that going down to High Rock.
that's Linden.
Linden.
So Linden is a problem too, but Maple is a bigger problem because Maple has all of the. Maple has no, it doesn't have the traffic stopping, but it has all the traffic and it has all the parking around it too. And then it has, Maple's sort of like the perfect storm.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I think the 2 biggest issues are Maple and, what's the other one, Tyler?
Pickering?
Thank you.
Pickering.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Well, I don't think many people disagree with that. Our committee, I'm the chair of the other one for the other committee for that thing. We could jointly make a recommendation to the select board to advance the quick build improvements related to that plan. There is funding for it. We have a federal grant for quick build improvements there. It was paused, but technically it's unpaused now. So our 3 committees, could write a letter of recommendation to the select board to act upon that grant. And to act upon the need to fix at least some parts of those that corridor. I don't know if that will do anything, but our committee could. I don't think that we're equipped now to kind of vote on that consensus with the three committees. But you can bring it back to your committees and ask if that's something that they would support. And we may be able to write something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly discuss, bring it to our committee for the next one, and I feel like I feel like it will benefit all of our committees to have some progress and momentum in town in the short term. So, changing out the traffic lights is a really big thing. So that's a great place to start. Super psyched to see that, even though people then ask questions about what's happening at every other intersection in town on the same thread. But I just think that these are things that are quick wins, but that are super impactful, that will also give people more confidence to support bigger projects. And this one to me is it's so significant because I've just seen so many things happen with pedestrians, particularly in Maple. Actually, I didn't know about the crossing guard. Is that recent?
It was about a month ago.
Yeah.
He's okay. He's okay.
Rebecca, I agree with what you said about Maple and Pickering. However, I would be cautious with respect to supporting something quick fix unless I really knew what it entailed, because there is a significant group that is involved in the Envision project in the downtown. And I think that, this is something that I don't think it would behoove us or anybody to do anything. I wouldn't support a quick fix without understanding it more fully and what the implications are of that.
Yeah, I don't think we're not voting on anything, and I'm not proposing a design because it's not my job. But I'm saying that it's a problem that deserves a short-term solution that is a path to something bigger, but that doesn't wait for the bigger solution. Because as a resident, it's I've now lived here for 25 years, John. And there are things that I am still waiting to see fixed. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. I think a lot of people feel like everything takes forever. And so if we don't focus on some short-term safety things, particularly in the pedestrian lane, they're not going to support the bigger projects because the short-term stuff doesn't change.
And Rebecca, I hear you. I think one of the things that you understand, that I understand, and that I think all of us here understand, is that in the world of municipal government, everything takes longer. And I'm a resident of almost 40 years, and there are things that haven't been done. That am I waiting? Well, I understand that there's an ebb and a flow to the way government works, and it's as frustrating as it can be. I think one of the things I'll go back to, James on and say the South Section Rail Trail was operated, that moved forward at lightning speed. And I think you would agree to that, considering, how long it takes to do other rail trail projects. But, but this is where, if things are done in a way where you have, outreach and engagement, then things can move more quickly, as evidenced by the many, many, many projects that have been done in this town over the past 25 years. But I agree. I mean, let's have a discussion about it. Let's understand what the elements of it are. A quick solution to a couple of cross streets in the downtown. What does that mean to what Envision is discussing? So open to discussing it, open to understanding it, open to engaging with people on it.
If I might propose, I know we talked in TSC a bit about the townwide 25 default speed limit. It kind of, we didn't quite table it, but we didn't quite get compelling evidence either way. It seems like more of there's a big policy based component of that decision. And it seems like that's something that also would have overlap between those two committees, because I think that there needs to be more than just that committee that discusses that before any recommendation is made.
Hey, Tyler, can I add a question on Maple and Pickering is there a quick fix, short-term solution to make those crosswalks safer? Is it, what is the cost to do RRFBs in that, on those crosswalks or some other more, expeditious way of dealing with those?
Well, John, that's what we're talking about, is figuring out a solution that everybody can get together to support that would. Because what we have now are the Jersey barriers, which was our short-term solution.
Yep.
And anything more would be a slightly larger term, so I think it would be great to figure out what those options are, and then to have a follow-up conversation that when we're in a position to evaluate them, because we talk about it at TSC all the time. So yeah, I just don't think, I don't think we're gonna get there here.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Tyler, do you have any data on the speed on Webster before and after the raised crosswalks or under? Any data?
Yeah, I don't have it on hand, but I do have.
Is it trending in the right direction, or are people just launching off those things? Because I see them launching off them all the time.
So the overall speeds, there's not been significant change. It depends where you take the readings. People slow down where the speed bumps are and they speed up after they pass over them. That's really why I'll always be an advocate for the raised crosswalk approach, because it's the only way to guarantee that, or not even guarantee, but the only way to maximize the slowing down at the location where it's most important that people slow down. When you try to, it's really hard to control speeds throughout an entire corridor without signals or just speed bumps all up and down that thing. So if the intention is to make safe crosswalks, I think that it's been successful. But in terms of overall traffic calming on the whole stretch, there hasn't been significant change.
And impact on Manning.
Has there been?
Traffic?
Yeah, I think we also, we had heard, we thought, we don't remember what this.
Yeah,
That's essentially more traffic.
Yeah, we haven't seen significant change in average daily traffic on Manning as a result of those improvements.
You have not.
We have not.
You've not.
Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, where those speed bumps are, they are pretty effective. I mean, I ride that many times a week, and people have, almost have to slow down. Not everybody, but vast majority of people. So I would view it as a success.
Yeah.
I mean, even though the entire corridor hasn't slowed down, at the critical points it has.
Right. Yep.
That seems pretty important.
I think at our you and Justin Matt, who wrote the letter, we discussed like a speed hump program, which would be more of this. People are asking TSC for speed humps, but you can't just do one at a time, right? And Tyler is letting you know that you can't just hire a company to come do one. So developing some sort of program to do many of them at one time, either throughout town or something like that, would be something I think might be a collaboration that we could help kind of form the policy for that. But we're still, part of the design guide is in there, classified streets where they're appropriate. City of Cambridge just did one. They have a speed hump pilot program. It's $250,000 is the cost for them. But they're going to do 48 speed humps throughout Cambridge. So that's the idea of the cost per speed hump. I think that's a program that we can help develop.
What's so interesting to me about that is that when Cambridge can do these things, there's a lot of stuff that Cambridge does. If they can do these things and roll them out, why can't we?
I think the question, we get this question like either at the vision committee or at engagement opportunities that I'm at, people are usually like, this is great, but I want a speed hump on my road, so I can't. Highland Ave, like, oh, you're putting a speed hump in the middle of Highland Ave, but we want one out here, you're not gonna get out here. So I think coming up with where they are applicable will be helpful so that we can, and that's a whole traffic calming program, I think, that we can help develop and and help implement.
But I also wonder how much I'd be very curious to know, I don't know if you've talked to people in Cambridge, because I would also be super curious to know how much, back to the sort of balance communication that Shane was talking about too, like, how much does Cambridge actually ask permission of the community before they do this stuff? I'm guessing not that much.
I think cities,
They do,
or
yeah.
top-down
Not,
decision making.
not as much.
That's the thing.
You know, I can only.
New York does.
So you're from Brookline,
I go to Brookline.
right? So how did Brookline do it?
They have a very extensive traffic calming manual
To do that.
with, you know, the number of people who have applied for a program, how many citizens you have to, how many residents on the street you have to have. You know, to apply that application, one of the request and things like that, and it is not just speed humps. I don't think it, that's why it's not called the speed hump manual, it's called the traffic calming manual. You know, so it is not just humps, it's also the narrowing the streets, having parking, whatever, there's a whole
Recipe,
menu from things you can play with, so.
Speed humps are from low hanging fruit because they're
Where-
maybe easy to install and people aren't aware of, like, go down in there. You know, it doesn't really change much as far as just the.
I do have one
You'd be
observation about the
surprised.
Webster speed bumps. Locals know they're there. They tend to disappear at dusk and in the morning. For people who are not there, and I see a lot of people get surprised by them, and I don't know if there's a way to make them more visible.
We paint often, but, you know, the striping leading to that, because.
Yeah, but
that's-
it's almost like the black asphalt
Mm.
is not even there as you're approaching it. You can see the lines. And then all of a sudden, if you're not a local, boom, you go over the top, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was telling
Well,
me.
you would hope people see the sign that says. says-
signage works.
They're not looking at signs, as we know.
But even then, when you're forewarned, you know, there's also the question, exactly where is it? If you know the street really well, you know exactly how when to
Yes.
ease off,
You do.
and yeah, the easiest passage of
Yeah.
the whole thing. But you know, when it's a new one, it's kind of like, or you're somewhere else, it's kind of, oh, where is that thing really? And I mean, there are retro reflective things, there's all kinds of gadgetry. But the thing that's really happening, I only cite this now just from an item in the ITE magazine not too long ago, but there are so many different types and signages being proposed by so many different people at the municipal and county level that, you know, it all is falling outside the manual uniform traffic control devices, with the result that, you know, confusion is being generated by, you know, a lot of signs and stripings and other variants, and just.
We keep a pretty
Yeah,
tight lid on it. I feel like we always default to the manual.
Yeah, Needham seems to be okay.
We used to have a lot, you know, the green and red signs that are kind of looks like they're 50 years old. Like back then we didn't care as much, but now we strictly adhere to the manual.
I do, Cambridge, I believe they have those. They're gonna be like 40 speed humps. They identified like maybe 10 of them, and then I think they did a community engagement. It was like, where would you want to see them? And people responded to that, and then they all go ahead and do those areas.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish I had more staff to help me do these events, because it's basically just me.
You gotta start somewhere. It's much smaller, you know, like, you know, to start much smaller. It's an idea.
Yeah.
Collaborate, so. Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right, that was great. Thank you for coming. Thank you, John, for the comments. I appreciate that. Very
Thank you.
helpful. And then I think we have a couple items that we've come up with that we may continue to talk with our own committees about on advancing.
My trial, I have almost new business, just to mention a couple of things on the transit MBTA front.
Yeah.
One, the quiet zone we found another funding technicality which has slowed that down. I think the project has been pretty well defined for all the 4 crossings, but the dollar value is being revisited because the FRA, in fact, even though this recent positive train control implemented, you know, it was very recent. apparently if you put these quiet zones in, there's now some requirement you go back and re-engineer the PTC, and it's a technical step driven by administrative policy decision, which has the impact of basically slowing it down and probably increasing the price, but that will become more apparent. So it's not happening in this current town meeting cycle for any meaningful extent, but it will show up at some point. The other thing that's come up, and I understand, I don't know whether it's reached the local level yet, is the T has, I guess, some resources to make some bus stop improvements. Okay, so
We did talk about you,
Yeah.
this was when
Okay,
you were
I
having
missed it.
difficulty with the Zoom.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
we did explore some locations. Unfortunately, the library location that we suggested that could work, the trustees at the library said that they're not in favor. On the live,
this from northbound or?
that would have been into town.
Yeah,
The other side, we have that the church, we have just negotiated some terms on or we're in the process, but on that parking lot lease. So
yeah.
we're kind of trying to put a lid on that, I think, before we go back, but it was.
My guess is, having been on the vestry and treasurer of that entity, is that they talked to you about it.
Yeah, and it seems like there's some more time before any decisions have to be made. But it was seen as a potentially realistic option that they could upgrade the bus shelter that is currently at the junction station, which is about 15-20 years old. So that's
Okay.
also an option.
Something. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. So we will, that's the end of the joint transportation meeting. We'll continue the mobility agenda after this. And you guys, other members are welcome to stay here. But just your
Normal
we're
business.
speaking amongst ourselves, so other comments, just not posted out. Fine. So the next agenda item is the minutes. Anyone have any comments on the minutes? None? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to the minutes.
Move it.
Second, all right, we'll take a roll call vote. Duncan Allen,
Aye.
Gus Bryson.
Aye.
Stephen Frail. Aye. James Goldstein. Tim Bolger votes aye. Woo-Sung Kwan
Aye.
and Paul Malta.
Aye.
All right, so the minutes pass.
For the purposes of the recording, that was James. I made the motion, Gus seconded. Sometimes it's hard for them to hear.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Sorry, I lost my.
Street design guide and the date, I guess.
The street design guide, the public engagement event is on December 2nd.
So we had to move the day.
That's a change from what we talked.
We had to
Okay.
move the day earlier because we want the Needham channel to help us with it. And they are not available on Thursday, so
And there's a select board meeting that night, that's no problem.
select board meeting on Wednesday.
No, that's Wednesday.
Yeah.
No,
What's the Wednesday?
no, it's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, December 2nd.
Whenever the Wednesday is that week is is when we're doing it.
Well, then it's
Weird
the
December
third,
third.
and that was one of the original options, but the agenda says the second, which is a Tuesday. So originally it was-
Whatever the Wednesday is, so it must be wrong on the agenda.
I think it is, because we had decided on the fourth, and if you just moved it a day, it would be the third.
You're right, it is the third. It was
Okay.
let the record show that it should have been the 3rd of December.
Third,
Right,
Yes.
that was one of the original options too.
It was, yes.
switch it back again.
Yeah.
7 o'clock. is good time.
Yeah, so yeah. Tim and I have been meeting with the team and putting together some content for the webpage that we hope to have in place by the time of the event, so that we can provide further, we can kind of link link things to the webpage, post things on the webpage. We can put any supporting documentation there, just like we do for other projects.
I think that's about it. Yeah,
And we've been working on I believe you all had some input as well, but as to how the event will go and what information will be shared in the format. So
we're invited. We should recommend.
everyone's invited. Yep, everyone's invited.
So it'll be official meeting.
It's not
It's not a
they're gonna run the
committee
meeting. They're gonna
meeting.
run it.
It's not a committee
It's
meeting,
not a
but
committee,
it's,
The public.
yes,
No,
public forum.
not run by us.
We will
We have to
be,
worry about that.
no. It's not a meeting of the committee.
As long as we don't discuss it.
Should probably double check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. As long as you don't discuss or deliberate.
So we shouldn't be able to speak, or can we speak as residents, or we can speak as a resident?
I don't know the rules, but I think so. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I'd recommend going just to learn about it. I'm sure it will be a nice presentation.
So they will present what they did last time.
There will be,
I mean, not just the.
not
persons.
exactly that, but that was the framework that
Yeah,
we
Sure.
developed, and they hope to have. They were building out some of the maps and some of the other images that were going to be shared. We're also gonna make some flyers, distribute them around town, do our usual comms blast. So we were just kind of talking about the visuals for those materials, and how to communicate what we've all talked about as a group with them.
Okay, and this will be in person.
It will be hybrid. It'll be hybrid.
Hybrid. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So anyone that can join online can also.
I have a feeling that the vast majority of residents have no idea that this is even going on yet. So is the website imminent, like in the next couple of weeks, hopefully?
The website, we're trying to get launched this week.
Okay, great. Can we have a short blurb in the Observer and the Needham Community News and so forth this week as well? Because having a forum without people knowing what it's about.
Yeah, so we had definitely as a, by default, we had planned to share it in the newsletter, and then share some posts on social. I can reach out to the Observer, see if they have the ability to run a small piece on it, just to announce, make sure maybe they'll have some questions so we can get some more information.
Great, and Needham Channel has its own blog as well, or news service now too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they also do articles. Let them know.
All right, I'll reach out to Mark. He already knows about the event. They're
Great.
at the event, so I'll just make sure that they have it in there.
So I wonder if Amy can put something in the news you need of this week, just short, without the webs, even if the website doesn't get posted, you'd be like, oh, this is happening.
It just puts out on Thursday, right?
A Thursday. Just
It's
like a
sent
very-
out on Friday, isn't it?
A Friday, sorry.
Sent out on Friday, but we just have to. I'll send her a blurb on Wednesday.
Right, just like a brief, like, oh, this is happening this date,
Yeah, get in people's minds.
website would be up soon.
And a sentence or two on what the design guideline is
Why they should.
it is and what it hopes to do for
Yeah,
just a sentence or two.
Well, yeah, I agree. And then the other thing is that the website, part of the website content will be an FAQ that gets at those questions. So that's a big part of it too, to explain what the project, because it seems a little opaque from
Yeah, exactly.
first glance. Yeah.
Is this a public comment or just a presentation?
It'll be public feed, like it'll be both.
So there'll be time dedicated for people to ask questions, right?
I don't know if I don't think they plan on having like a hearing style, like stand up and ask a question, but they're gonna be there, I think.
We talked about the format of it and what we thought would be most appropriate, but because of the non-project specific nature of it, I think we decided it was going to be more of a
Information.
like we'll have materials out, which will be there to answer questions. We still have to work out exactly how we want to do
I
that.
think there's
Um,
might be some like.
we
Maybe some like open-ended type questions or comments.
Yeah, we discussed like having some kind of like handout that can be distributed to everybody at the meeting that has like one or two questions on it that they can pass in at the end for people that maybe aren't comfortable asking questions publicly, or just, you know, things that are about the overall project or priorities rather than their specific streets.
Far from a public hearing. It's
Right.
informational mostly, and you want to have some.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's not the only one I've
Right.
seen.
Yeah.
So
I think
this may be difficult to attract a big audience.
No, but if it's hybrid, then that
You
may,
might get more.
yeah, you might get a few more.
Yeah.
Which brings up the point, well, I don't know, who knows?
It's not
But you say you're gonna have some kind of a pamphlet.
That was an idea. I think it has
If
some
you
value.
have it, can you send one to me, because I can print it out. There may be some people who's interested, I can stick it in the board.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring some around to the town buildings, town
Yeah.
hall.
Because, you know, we have 7 town meeting members.
Yeah, no, you got the gold mine over there. Yeah, yeah, like we can make sure you have a copy. I think we are meeting on Thursday. We can kind of hammer out some more of those details, so.
Okay, the next agenda item is the sidewalk pilot program summit, setting date. I thought a little bit about this after the mentioned, like, needed to kind of get this down and think, like, I think it would be best if we could just get that, we could get that meeting done as soon as possible. Yeah, like, as soon as like you can. And then it becomes like, we can kind of vet what happens there. As part of like a bigger program for the sidewalk program. So. I know you mentioned like the best time for that, which was in.
It's open-ended. I think the only thing that I'm conscious of is all the different events and things that are going on, and just not trying to maximize attendance, but you know, I'm ready to do it whenever we set a date. I just wanted to have a sense of, I know we had said let's do it in the fall, and then fall kind of, you know, we're in the thick of it now, and it's just we just need to like, I would like to have a target so that I can put together some materials and
You have any suggestions about best time?
Early in the new year. I mean, I don't know.
Well, when do you want to get the program
Yeah.
rolled out? Like, when do you want to?
I think that,
Start.
I think that we kind of need to like. Be the rolling wheel on that sidewalk program. So as soon as we, and the first part of it, I think when Mo was here and we talked about. Like this first meeting being part of it, to kind of feel it out, to see how people are reacting to it, if they're gonna take to it, if it's worthwhile, like, you know. Interested in it, even if maybe this one neighborhood we talked to says no, but there are enough people interested in it. I think we need that information. To include it in this sidewalk program.
I have a question. Would it benefit having one of the, there's a community already expressed interest, one or two?
well, what we had talked about was I have like a couple streets that are candidates, and we were just gonna invite all of them, but.
Do you have anybody in those streets that you know of that could be, not a champion partner, but somebody who could help rally the people? Maybe even do a meeting like out there. Instead of, like, inviting them here.
So
Well,
the
yeah.
other thing about that is that I'm limited on what information I can share, because I won't have like.
Yeah.
A presentation.
Yeah, I don't think it's a meeting here with us.
It's in there. It's in their neighborhood.
Tyler, right, like.
No, I mean,
Like,
like,
someone else.
instead of inviting them to like a public
Oh.
building. You know, could you find that somebody to host a house?
And what I was
Must
getting
be.
at is along those lines, if I may,
Yeah.
instead of a summit, which sounds
serious.
rather grandiose. Start with
Yeah.
1 or 2 communities and see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then if there's if there's interest and take up, maybe it's a summit or, community wide.
I'll tell you why I was asking. If you could find somebody who's willing to be sort of like, I'll invite a bunch of people to my house. Then it becomes more of a like, when's it convenient for you?
Yeah,
Like we, rather than us trying to find a date that works for everybody else, they have the network. Find somebody in that neighborhood who could just, you maybe say, hey, yeah, we get a dozen people in my living room and have a conversation.
We did that with the Rail Trail Committee, with abutters. Actual abutters hosted our engagement process, which was very valuable because they were advocates too. I mean, not that hosts here might may or may not be, but it was helpful to have it in the neighborhood and have neighbors inviting neighbors. So I like the idea. I don't know if you can do that or is allowed to do that. but-
no, I think that would just require, so where we are in the year, right? Whatever the first meeting is gonna be, nothing's gonna be decided, right? So we're trying to, the goal is we're trying to take the temperature. I think that when we discussed this last, we just kind of just said that. How do you decide which ones to ask?
Yeah.
Because if option B on the list, they're like, this is a terrible idea, we don't want to do this. But then option C or D might actually be interested. It's I don't know exactly which neighborhoods are more receptive to it or not.
I don't think you're gonna know.
But like, there's no, I also don't know what the criteria is. So like, if the first neighborhood that we ask about it is not in favor, or maybe, say I do it 3 times or something. Is that if there's no interest there, is, our.
That's
is
good
it,
data. That's good data.
Yeah.
No interest is data.
Yeah. I mean, cause the second step was just, if people say, yes, we are interested, then ultimately we have to figure out a way to have people sign up or sort of like have this plan for a specific location and decide who gets to go or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can do like a more informal, sort of like I've done for the intersection projects
Yeah.
where we meet at the intersection. Like I can do that. I think it'll just be more me just sort of talking extemporaneously about like what the challenges are, what the proposal is, more in terms of like, this is an idea, and without so much of the numbers and the
Right.
background and the, you know what I mean?
Well, it could be either of those, but I think the challenge first is try to get enough people that you've got a critical mass
Yeah,
to ask the questions. And it seems like we've done that successfully in some of these other street projects. So I also like the word summit just seems a little bit highbrow for what you're trying to get here. You're trying to get one community talking about pros and cons of this idea.
Yeah.
That you're trying to do, and then maybe get a second or a third. I mean, if you ask the committee and maybe even around, other boards. Here are the neighborhoods we're targeting. Anybody know anybody who lives here who could be like, I could have an initial conversation with and decide whether or not they could be a anchor point for the community. That'll bring others together.
Town meeting members,
There might be town members living on those streets. There might be board members living on those streets.
yeah,
So.
yeah. I think it's reasonable to
Kind of put it on them.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, if you can't get any interest through some of our contacts, that's probably saying something too.
it will be winter.
yeah,
Now's a bad
so,
time.
right.
Holidays is really bad.
It shouldn't be an outdoor meeting. It shouldn't be there's snow on the ground, sidewalks. I think that's great. Yeah.
But somebody like maybe somebody opens their living room and says, yeah, come on in. Talk to my neighbors.
one more thing, is the connection between the date we pick and any possibility of under the most favorable conditions for you. Any possibility of getting construction during the summer?
Well, this group and the larger, the town has not determined how program will be funded. So,
Oh, okay.
that's another question that is up for debate. So
I'm
if,
just asking.
no, it's a good question. I think that,
Because if you go with a plan and you say, when is this gonna happen?
because it really depends on if we're using existing allocations or if we're asking for a dedicated budget for that program in the future.
Does that mean that town meeting get involved too?
In which case we're talking about, budgets are submitted, so.
Yeah. Okay, no, just asking the question.
No, yeah, it was valid question. So. I it's like, where do you have it if, like, I don't know if people will be willing to host.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the community meetings. Makes sense, I guess, especially if have people, like a way to at least get people out on the street, because like, why is there a group of residents walking around, maybe walk out and see.
Yeah.
It's just a lot easier sometimes to picture it when you're right there and you could say, okay, imagine this sidewalk's gone and you got a rambling new one across the street.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I think for us, it's a data point, and you can't. It's like kind of what we've been waiting for to proceed with budgeting for, and then whatever else after that. So
I say, take your neighborhood, circulate it amongst the boards and say, does anybody have any contacts in these places that you can do a one-on-one conversation to start, to see if there's any interest in helping build a little gathering, and if they have suggestions about when and where.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll see if I can pick maybe like 3 of the ones from the list that are the most typical examples, and then see if I can, I mean, any given street in town, somebody submitted a C-Click fix for repairing the sidewalks, so you just call somebody from one of those. I mean,
it's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, we're the people who bring to T-Mac.
Yeah. I mean, because I was telling Tim before, like, a lot of communications to the town about sidewalks has been, NPCC is going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
They got, like, they're going to figure it out. We're
Right.
waiting for recommendations from them.
Right.
And I don't want to keep saying that if I'm not actively helping you guys to push that ball forward. So
Yeah, as soon as possible, I guess.
Right.
If we can identify that, and
Can we come to your holiday party?
yeah, we can invite them to our holiday party here. We have every year.
that's like at least not too many people where like you could actually print something and maybe stick it in mailboxes too, like instead of like you get
Yeah.
get a copy of it.
I could put together, like, I mean, that people will have to be noticed in some capacity. I could kind of put together like a fact sheet and just like a 1-page.
Well, because you're only talking the street, right? Or.
Couple streets,
It's like,
maybe.
yeah, like
Right. So it's not that you have into 500 letters to.
No. Yeah, I
It's
just,
all work.
yeah, yeah, I think we were a little reluctant at first to say it's going to be this side, because then you get everybody on their side saying, "Oh, well, then I don't want it."
I probably would tell
You
you
know.
side,
Yeah,
the abstract first. One side, one way.
we're gonna flip a coin when the time comes.
Well, I mean, part of the program is to look at the constructability of each side,
Right.
which one makes.
I mean, it should be apparent to, I mean, maybe not, but a lot of the times there's like a tree in the sidewalk. It's like, I wonder which one we're gonna do.
I mean, the challenges I think you'll just cover will probably be more idiosyncratic to the neighborhood. So where are the people with mobility challenges, where are the kids living? Those are the ones that are gonna probably fight the hardest to keep the sidewalk on their sides.
Right, but if it's in total deterioration. It's not doing them a lot of good either. You
I
know,
do think that probably will provide a move to say. You've identified it, we're gonna remove it, and then. Those people are like notified somehow that it's being removed, and maybe there's comment from that or. I can't do that, this isn't gonna work for me. For whatever reason, maybe there can be concessions made, or we abandon that whole neighborhood based on one like. Real issue or challenge, it's something that I think is possible that will come out of the.
I think we need
A
to be open-
multi-step process.
Right, I think we need to be open to the possibility that no neighborhood is ever gonna want this.
yeah,
That could be one finding that we end up on.
but then we
Or
gotta
it could
figure
be
out.
every neighborhood's totally, whatever.
Yeah, well, then we have to figure out a plan B, because eventually
50-year.
I can't just say, I can't keep responding to ClickFix saying MPCC's got this covered. Don't worry about it.
All right, so as soon as possible, then.
Yeah.
We'll work on. it. All right, the next one is the committee reorganization, which is the biannual chair rotation. The first order of business for the new chair will be to change biannual to something else. Biannual means twice a year. We have been doing that. I think that's what the charge says,
Like every 6 months.
every 6 months. So it was a typo, I believe, biannual. But so now that it's been 2 years, since the committee started,
So what is the every other year, how do you say that?
biannually,
Biannually?
biannually.
By N with an E?
Some people would say every 2 years.
Yeah, I think every 2 years, I think every 2 years is.
Can I
Fair.
jump in here on this, Tim?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I spoke with Karis about it. I guess the way they defined it has changed. When she originally wrote the language biannual meant it could mean every 6 months or every 2 years. But now there's biannual and biannual. Biannual is every other year. So the intent was every other year, not every 6 months.
Okay, that's.
So you start every 18 months is what we're eating.
So so I will accept I don't know how that here switches, but someone needs to, it needs to switch because it's in the charge. Needs to rotate, so who wants to be the chair? I'm happy to be the vice chair, throw my hat in there and. If anyone wants to be the vice chair, I'll walk you through what you need to do. It's very easy.
So
Anyone ever complains about anything that we do.
Ever.
Paul went to the attendees, so he doesn't have to be chair. I don't want-
Justin is not here, right?
Yeah, Justin,
I think
I don't know if
he's,
Justin-
I don't think he's allowed to be chair.
Why is he the chair?
No, because his wife doesn't want him to be.
He's chair.
That's true.
Not going for it.
Sorry?
Not going for it.
Too bad not everyone's.
So if it doesn't go well.
Can't be me, so it's gotta be one of you.
Can this happen in our next meeting so people have more time to think about it?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So I move that we defer to, we put this on the table for next meeting.
We'll vote on it then, I guess, yes, Duncan Allen.
Want to adjourn this is now?
This is
Put it on the
to-
table.
Oh, to put
This
the
is the
decision
table,
off.
the
of it.
chair rotation.
Okay, yeah, I'm all for putting the decision off of them.
Great.
Okay, yeah.
Gus Price?
Yes.
Paul Malta
Second that.
and Wu Song Kwan.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, everyone will think about it on the next time.
Good work, everyone.
I will do the vice chair thing, come fill in for the meetings and help with all the other things, but we do need to change the chair. And then the next agenda item is to adjourn. Second. Duncan Allen.
Aye.
Wes Bryson, Steve Frail. Aye. Tim Bolger votes aye. Woo-Sung Kwan,
Aye.
Paul Malta.
Aye.
Right, meeting's adjourned.
Right, and that was a Gus motion and a Stephen Frill second
Yeah.
for the record. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye.
This is when you thought you were out.